Maddie, it is only 3 days left for you to put your name in the transfer portal. It's coming to an end. It's coming to everybody get that Zen moment. Everybody's got plenty of work to do and everything else, but it is closing time for the
Final
transfer.
hour.
Do what?
Last call. So the final hour, last call.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the Hoop Southbound Show. My name is David.
Hey guys, it's Maddie.
And today we are, of course, talking about the last week to put your name out in the transfer portal on May 11th. Anyone who has their name at this period will become eligible for a first-time transfer, and anyone who enters their name after this will have to apply for a waiver, which isn't always guaranteed for the NCAA, unless, of course, you are a grad student, and, of course, you get free movement there as a veteran. But it is a crazy and wild time. Everybody out here talking about transfer portal, everybody talking about everything else going around with the NBA draft. We're covering it all this week. Let's start with the transfer portal, or at least something that relates to the transfer portal. One of the top 10 teams in the transfer portal is the West Virginia Mountaineers with their class ranking, but we'll see how much longer that lasts. For those of you who don't know, this afternoon at some point, West Virginia head coach Bob Huggins came out and, he said something that you probably should never say. Used a particular word that referred to the LGBTQ plus community, is how I'll put that. And he said it on public radio during an interview on a Cincinnati radio station, calling students or fans at Xavier Catholic, insert word here. Coach Huggins has issued an apology, as much as anybody ever does. Maddie, quick thoughts on this. It's probably going to be significant because we're probably going to see some movement out of West Virginia, teams grabbing some players, but this is some pretty bad PR and probably a situation where Coach Huggins gets fired.
Yeah, it's like one of the comments that I saw, I felt pretty I agreed with it, definitely. Said, dude, it's not 1998 anymore. Like, it wasn't really okay then. People made it okay. It's not okay now. Just one of those things, like, you're in a position where a lot of people look to you, a lot of people, follow you, see what you're doing. At this point, to do anything insensitive is just, irresponsible.
Yeah, I know what that 98 comment is. It's like with another word that we don't use anymore, we all remember the Black Eyed Peas song, Let's Get It Started was the censored version of that. It meant something totally different. There's words that you just absolutely do not say. There's a list of them, and Coach Huggins, for whatever reason, decided it was okay to say that word on public radio. And, this has been a weird week of this now, where we've had Coach Huggins who said it just very blatantly in a conversation. With, we also had the Oakland A's baseball commentator who said the N-word this week on the middle of a broadcast, but don't say those words. Like, who the hell are you for saying those? It's mind-boggling, like how you would think to say something like that.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, like, at this point, it's just disappointing. Like, I know there is an older generation that tends to be set in their ways, but there's no excuse.
Yeah, and the thing,
time to learn and correct yourself, and either they just don't care, or, like you said, he issued an apology pretty soon after it happened. But, what's an apology after you've made yourself known to have certain feelings?
Yeah, I look, I believe people can change. I believe that, human beings can grow as individuals. But like, what the thing about the apology to me is that there's no mention of the LGBTQ community in the apology at all. Like, in no way, shape, or form is it in there. The apology just it's basically to those who were offended, which to me means I don't really care. Like, that's how it comes across to me, is that when you say to those I may have offended, you know who you offended. Like, apologize to them. Like, don't just say to anyone I offended, or like this blanket chat GTP statement that everybody puts out.
Do you think that's what he did? Do you think he typed in, how do I apologize for a terrible honor interview in chat GPT, and it spit out an apology he could post?
I don't know, it's pretty sophisticated, but I'm not going to go that far to say that. But yeah, it's absurd. The reason we bring it up in the transfer portal is you got a coach now with one of the best transfer classes in the country out here doing this, and there's going to be ramifications for his comments, and we're going to see players probably moving out of West Virginia if what I think is about to occur occurs.
Yeah. I mean, even if, he doesn't get any kind of, I don't want to say, punishment for it, you're going to have people that have transferred to that school that, have certain feelings about people that say that word, that are going to say, I don't want to play for a coach that's going to feel that way, or, say that way about, could be somebody's family or super close friends that, relate to that community. That
100%. I mean, there's players out there that are open, and then there's players that are in the closet still, or however you want to refer to that, have not come out. It will take it simply. People who have family members. We can dive into the rabbit hole of just how this issue affects literally everyone, and some, this group is very attached to everyone because they're all part of our lives. It's not anything foreign or anything like that. Like, everybody knows someone who, is part of the LGBT plus community. So the, terrible statements like that are going to have impact. So you're right. Even if he doesn't get fired, we could still see a lot of these players who transferred into West Virginia just automatically move out. But yeah, it's pretty bad. All right. Talking about the rest of the transfer portal, let's shift gears here, get off this topic. And I know it's horrible and, everything else, but try to talk about everything else that's in relation to basketball today. This week, Hunter Dickinson, who was the top ranked player in the transfer portal, announced his decision to transfer to, drumroll please, after the 80,000 teams that were linked to Hunter Dickinson, transfers to Kansas on May 4th. 7'1" big man spent the past 3 seasons at Michigan, where he led the Wolverines in both scoring and rebounding each season. Maddie, of course, we know what team this impacts here in the SEC, and that is the Kentucky Wildcats. Thought they were going to get him. Oscar Tshiebwe working out for a lot of teams right now. It's not exactly what Kentucky hoped would turn out this offseason.
Yeah, I think they're going to be scrambling a little bit in the transfer portal, trying to find, if not a main big man, a backup big man, somebody that can lead, some of those freshmen coming in with a little bit of experience.
Yeah, Oscar is a wild card in my opinion. He probably has the talent to go play on a G League team or something of that sort, or to go play basketball overseas. He's getting workouts right now across different NBA teams. But the situation is just very simply, if Oscar does not come back, you have a problem. But with Oscar, he probably makes enough money in NIL to justify holding off another year before he turns pro. We'll have to see if Coach Cal tries to get him back or not. But it's kind of shaky. Another player that an SEC team, 2 SEC teams actually missed on, was Matt Cleveland. The Florida State transfer ended up committing to Miami. Auburn and Mizzou were both 2 teams that were being considered. 2 teams that need to make a splash in the transfer portal, and it just has not simply happened for them.
Yeah, I'm kind of starting to wonder, are they making moves in these last 3 days, or are they just chopping it up for, this is what we're going to work with next year?
100%. And for Auburn, of course, graduate Alan Flanagan has put his name in the transfer portal. He didn't have the same deadline restrictions, but he is a native of Little Rock. But he is likely to go to Ole Miss, according to JC Hoops, because that's where his father went to go play basketball. Maybe Chris Beard picking up somebody in this nice little window here. Another player looking at going SEC to SEC, Darian Ford. Had a visit to Vanderbilt and was reportedly pretty impressed with the program there in Vanderbilt. Ford played at Arkansas. For those of you who listen to the show are not aware, because we got a lot of Hog fans. But yeah, if Jerry Stackhouse can pull this one off, that's a big get, because we're talking about a 4-star basketball player coming into his program and helping his team out, for a team that desperately needs talent and scoring talent, especially.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Darian Ford this season, although he didn't get a whole lot of playing time, he made the most of his minutes, and I think that would be a great get for Jerry Stackhouse to start establishing a little bit more dominance coming out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, you're one of the teams that need to do some of the most work in the transfer portal to get your team put together for next season. It's going to be a bumpy road. We got 3 more days, 2 more days because time is streaming. That this will be, discussed, talked about, and how the transfer portal is going to shake out. Vanderbilt is a team, like I said, needs some work. They got some positions to fill. Darian Ford would be a big get, and then you can back some other talent up with that, and you can put something decent on the court. That's the biggest hope there. Otherwise, you're going to have an incredibly young basketball team there in Vanderbilt that hopefully the administration holds out with Jerry Stackhouse and holds on. Right now, it's kind of like it's not a hot seat, but it's warming. Like you're going to have to get some process going. But Vandy's had a rough transfer portal. If they can pull off and save the season and put together a good basketball team, something that's semi-competitive, it'll be a win. It'll be an absolute win. So that's where things kind of stand at this given moment. So far, the best transfer classes. Maddie, you want to guess how many SEC teams are in the top 10 according to 24/7 on transfer classes?
I'm gonna say 3.
Very close. Very close. It's 4.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what 4 teams?
I mean,
taken up a lot.
Arkansas has been dominating.
Do what?
I said, I know Arkansas has been dominating.
Okay, that's 1.
Let's see. I know we talked about one as Alabama's on there.
Alabama's not in the top 10.
Not in the top 10. Oh. Seen some decent moves out of Mizzou. Or not Mizzou. Sorry. Who am I thinking of? Not Ole Miss either. I don't know, David. It's
okay. All right. So right now the top 10 is Arkansas, is 4th in the nation. Ole Miss 7th in the nation, believe it or not. Here this last week, Chris Beard has made a couple of moves that have helped him out quite a bit. LSU 8th in the nation and Tennessee 10th. So that's how currently the best transfer classes are shaking up. That order in the SEC, though, is Arkansas with the number 1 transfer class, Ole Miss with the number 2 transfer class, number 3 LSU, number 4 Tennessee. Then South Carolina is currently at 5, 25th nationally. Georgia at 26 nationally, number 6. Number 7 is Florida at 28 nationally. Number 8 is Alabama at 30 nationally. At 9th is Mizzou, 39th nationally. 10, Texas A&M, 49. 11, Auburn, who is 57th. 12 is Vanderbilt at 96 in the country. 13th is Mississippi State, who is unranked. And 14th is Kentucky, who is unlisted for 24/7. Not a lot of movement there. So that's where things currently sit in the transfer portal. Teams with some work to do. Vandy's got 3 spots open. Tennessee 2 spots. Ole Miss 3 spots. LSU 2 spots. Kentucky 3 spots. Florida 3 spots. And Auburn with 4 spots. Everybody else has 2 or 1 or none left open for their roster. Maddie, your initial thoughts here on the list of where everybody ranks in their transfer classes?
I feel like that's pretty solid. LSU was one of the ones I was thinking, but didn't want to throw that out there and make myself feel even more dumb for today.
It's been one of those days.
It has been it's been a Monday, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I get it.
Good to see. I mean, kind of good to see. I'm still not a fan of Chris Beard. But good to see, some of those teams that we felt really needed some big changes and a lot of help coming into the season, looking at Ole Miss, looking at LSU. Tennessee was pretty solid. So, I'm interested to see what that does to their team this next season. And, a little disappointed in some of the schools like Auburn, Florida, that definitely needed a little bit of work after last year not accomplishing a whole lot in the transfer portal, it looks like.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things that take time to build. It's a little rougher this season. Some teams that I'm kind of surprised by, like I said, I'm with you on Auburn. I expected a little bit more out of Auburn during this offseason. Same with Mizzou. I expected their momentum to keep carrying them, and right now they're not even in the top 7 in the SEC, and flirting with moving outside the top 40 in the country. So they're in a weird spot, but they've only got one roster spot left to fill. We'll have to see what happens there. As far as NIL value goes for teams right now, just a real quick look at the list. The top three in the SEC are Alabama at $1.5 million, Kentucky $1.4 million, Arkansas just under $1 million with 824K. Then Auburn is sitting at 700K, which might be why we're having transfer portal issues. They might be maxing that budget out just a little bit, because after you get past Auburn on this list, you jump down under $500,000, and then you keep going down all the way down to Mississippi State, who's right now at a value of 110K. It's just kind of where it is. And there are some best available still out there. Grant Nelson, North Dakota State. Everybody saw his name enter the portal. Very interesting prospect, but also could be headed toward the NBA. Jordan Dingle, the point guard out of Penn, still has not made any kind of decision. Mosiah Sykes out of Oklahoma State, and RJ Sunahara out of Nova Southeastern. I was just like, the letters got jumbled up in my head looking at the name of that school. It's a little crazy, but it's all there. There's players still available, but right now that top 50 is starting to get a little bit slim on your pickings.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, you're starting to look more at some depth pieces as time's moving on here. All right, let's talk about next season real fast. Vanderbilt with the is going to be the fourth team in the 2023 Wooden Legacy in Las Vegas. Source told College Hoops. There is no timetable on an official announcement right now, but the official dates for the tournament and matchups are yet to be determined. But the other teams that are going to be in that tournament with them are Arizona State, North Carolina State, and BYU. Maddie, it is an MTE with all power schools.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I think the matchup that I'm most interested to see there would be a Vanderbilt Arizona State matchup. I think that'd be a good one to kind of tell us where Vanderbilt's going to be at going into the season.
Yeah, Arizona State was a tournament team last year. They're a good basketball team. North Carolina State, also a tournament team. The school that I think would be the most interesting would be BYU. BYU is obviously going to have a chance just by their season to have a chance to get to the NCAA tournament this year, playing in the Big 12. But with BYU, there's not going to be a lot of good chances out there. Their basketball team is not quite of that same caliber. I'm interested to see what happens, but I'm not sure with them. Yep, for sure. I need to get a drink of water real fast. Do you want to talk about the Jalen Williams rule change?
The Jalen Williams rule change, in my personal opinion, is one of the dumbest possible changes that the NCAA can make.
And I want to emphasize, this is not official by any means yet, but it is a rule change possibility on charging. Me and Maddie, we talked a couple of weeks ago on the show about charging when the NBA was talking about it, getting rid of charging out of basketball. Again, this is a skill. Why are you wanting to manipulate this thing? I don't understand the urgency for the issue behind charging.
I don't either. I think it's one of those things, like, people see it as, it's a hard thing to judge in the first place. Coming from a ref, like, is it a flop? Did they actually charge? Because you have people now that will just fall when the wind blows.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to keep that from happening, but I feel like there's better ways to do it than just basically get rid of charging.
My grandfather, like I said, played basketball in yonder year, the days of old. But he used to say that, like, when he used to charge somebody or something, a charging call was good. He used to say, "Oh, you should have been in pictures," or whatever. Whatever joke it was. But you're right. The flop is always a concern. I always thought, though, the flop was the deterrent that was coming out for charging. As the season went on last year, we saw that flop call got called a lot less than when it first came in. I thought we were going to see adjustments to the flop call, not the charging call, coming into the possible rule changes committee for next season.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a skill. You're taking away essentially an entire part of a single position. When you look at center and post players, probably are affected the most by this, like power forwards, just because, like, it's a whole I really don't know how I'm getting to the end of this railroad track. But it's one of those things, like, you grow up learning that position, and it's a part of it. Like, someone runs into you,
it's a penalty. Yeah, it's a foul. And it's a turnover is what it is. And that's always how we've played basketball for the better part of several years now. So I'm with you. I don't get like how you're just going to say, oh, we need to change this rule and reteach kids basketball, and also just take away part of their ability to play defense. It's crazy. It's absurd. I really don't know what to say other than, like, I'm not a fan of this in the least bit. But it's a little crazy. I'm not with it. I'm not with it. I think my opinion's out there in the world at this point when it comes to the charging call. It is a skill. If you want to change charging, teach people not to charge.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
And
thing is
the refs better. That's the real issue. Get the refs better at identifying what is charging, what is not charging, and clearly define it. Don't change the rule to where now it's about your positioning, like your feet, and the exact timing has to change. Clarify the rule. Don't overhaul it. Make the refs better. Don't try to change the rule to accommodate the offense only.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, if I am down in the paint and I'm one of those guys and I get absolutely steamrolled by somebody because it's not going to be a foul on them, like, what am I going to do? I just step out of the way and let them have a basket? It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous. You know what's also ridiculous?
What's that, David?
No, taking a break right now. Yeah, when we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the NBA draft and the developments that we've had there. Also, we're going to be continue our state by state, who's the best list that we've been doing. This week, we're looking at the state of Arkansas. And speaking of Arkansas, we're also going to talk a little bit about some rumor mill when it comes to Ron Holland. All right, stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, I've bought my fair share of cakes and treats for special events, and my friends over at AAA's Treats are always my go-to. AAA's Treats is your locally owned and operated St. Louis area bakery that creates specialty cakes that are great tasting and beautiful to look at. They're great for any occasion, from birthdays to weddings, baby showers, and more. Are you looking for a St. Louis Blues or a Cardinals cake? They can make that play. A specialty themed cake for a special or non-traditional occasion? They do that too. Can't have sugar or eggs? Maybe you need a gluten-free option. AAA's Treats can make that play. So go on over to AAA's Treats Facebook page, shoot them a message, and make your request. And don't forget, let them know that Josh and the VSN sent you over, and they will get you 10% off your order today.
Maddie, of course, this week may be the last week of the transfer portal, but coming up very, very shortly, NBA draft stuff is going down hardcore. By the way, please check out our sponsors and make sure that you get all that good stuff. We like sponsors. We like them to pay for my cable during basketball season, so me and Maddie can watch hoops all we want to. But we are coming up on the Combine and G League Elite Camp. Maddie, are you excited about this time period for we're going to finally get some answers on who's coming back to college and who's going to be going to the league?
Oh, I'm excited. If not, just as an Arkansas fan, just as a basketball fan overall, to see, how some of these young guns, where they end up going, how they end up affecting that team. Are they going G League? Do you think they're going to start? It's always an interesting, scenario to kind of see. We have people like Paulo Banchero, who basically started day one after the draft, or you have people like Jalen Williams that went to OKC Blue and is now a staple in the Oklahoma City Thunder starting lineup. So
absolutely. So looking in at the Elite Camp, we know some of the initial invites now, and these are the list of the SEC players that are headed to the Elite Camp. As of right now, we might see some more names added to the list. Charles Bediako out of Alabama, Janai Broome out of Auburn, Colin Castleton out of Florida, Alex Fudge out of Florida, Demoy Hodge out of Missouri, Triple J out of Tennessee, Tyron Lawrence out of Vanderbilt, Matt Morrell out of Mississippi, Oliveira out of Tennessee, Antonio Reeves out of Kentucky, and then Mark Sears out of Alabama are all going to be attending the elite camp. And then for the NBA Combine, the only invite right now from the SEC is Kobe Brown out of Missouri. But as we all know, the workouts are incredibly important as well. It's the list. Maddie, a lot of the names that are going to elite camp and a lot of guys who say they're testing the NBA waters. Do you think we'll see after the elite camp a lot of these guys coming back?
I think it'll be a good indication of who sticks around to continue, possibly trying to get into the combine through that elite camp, or if they, revert back and they say, my skill level's not where I thought it was going to be compared to everybody else that's trying to go. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll see a lot of back pedals and then some people who are going to push forward and continue to see where they might fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Kobe Brown, I'm very interested in seeing in the NBA Combine. He's a name that we've seen continue to go up the boards a little bit in this timeline. Of course, we're going to get into some more mock drafts later on next week because we're getting in definitely that time frame to where we got to start looking at those. But Kobe Brown, it looks less and less like he's coming back to Missouri next season. Even though he just says he's testing the waters, he looks like he's going to get drafted somewhere. He's turning into that Jalen Williams player.
I mean, I can't help but think are we going Shakespearean? Is the name? Is it all in the name?
Maybe it would be poetry, right? To see Kobe end up in the NBA. It's just a matter of poetry. That name, if you name your kid Kobe, he's going to the league. Like that's the new rule. That's the new rule. All right. So we have a list of teams that have been invited for workouts right now. I'm going to go through these real quick. The Hawks have taken on Oliveira from Tennessee. Celtics have looked at Alex Fudge from Florida and Oscar Tshiebwe from Kentucky. I want to note on here, Oscar Tshiebwe and Alex Fudge have gotten a lot of workouts from a lot of different teams. Janai Broom has gotten some work with the Nets. Michi Johnson out of South Carolina, testing the local team, the Charlotte Hornets. Go play for Michael's team, baby. Go do it. Everybody wants to go play for Jordan if you're from the Carolinas. And then Alex Fudge, Pistons, Tshiebwe and Fudge again for the Rockets. Tshiebwe going to also the Bucks and the Kings. He's worked out there. It's been an interesting ride, but we're going to see more lists, more big names as we get closer to time for the draft, trying to make sure that you get your chance in with the team who might be interested in drafting. And of course, the lottery's coming up. We're going to start knowing some concrete answers on who's drafting who here pretty soon. Yeah, a lot of good stuff out there. Maddie, with Oscar Tshiebwe getting so many workouts, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show. Think he's going somewhere, or do you think he's going back to UK next year?
I mean, with that many teams showing interest, I feel like based on recent history, if you have a workout with the team, they're gonna have at least a little bit of interest drafting you. If you're working out with 4 or 5 teams, you're more than likely going to end up somewhere. So I really think it depends on how NIL shakes out at Kentucky.
How much more room it is to grab somebody.
Yep. Rather than, is he going to be sitting at the bottom of a roster? Is he going to be on a G League team for a year or two before he actually gets any NBA play? I think that's what we're really going to find out in the coming weeks to see if he stays or goes.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation. Oscar Tshiebwe, the many workouts as I've seen him go to, I'm starting to think he's going to the league, but we'll see. Because like a lot of these teams could be telling him like, you're probably going to go to our G League team, and then he might consider just going back to college for another season. So we'll see how that plays out. Like I said, if it's going to be a free agent signing situation or not, we'll see. There's some stuff that we don't completely understand in this whole process about what teams are telling players, but we'll know very, very soon what the future does hold for Oscar Tshiebwe and others. Speaking of NBA talent, a future NBA talent, Mr. Ron Holland, as we talked about last week, decommitted from the University of Texas. And just this morning, or actually it was yesterday, JC Hoops put out that Ron Holland does have a crystal ball, and Trey Biddy, also of Hog Sports, did put a crystal ball out for Ron Holland headed to University of Arkansas, it sounds like. Maddie, how big of a get would this be for Eric Musselman?
Oh, it'll be huge. Ron Holland seems like a pretty diverse player. He can do a lot and brings a lot to, this Arkansas team. I think with that level of talent and a healthy level of talent, we're gonna get, if Ron Holland comes up to U of A, as fans, we're gonna get what everyone was expecting out of Nick Smith this last year.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get two rough deals in a row, but we'll see how that situation plays out. Obviously, yeah, the Nick Smith situation did not play out like anybody wanted it to in Arkansas, not a soul. But you got another chance here. And then you already got two other 5-star talents there in Layden Bacher, who plays point. You've got Ron Holland, who'll be playing the wing if he does come to Arkansas. And then Bayfall, who's down low, supplemented with all this transfer talent, who's going to be very senior. There's going to be a lot of skill on this Razorback team, and it could be, honestly, the most talented team that Arkansas's had.
Yeah.
It's absurd. We thought last year's team was going to be very talented. Not the most talented team in Arkansas history, but very talented team that Arkansas had last season. But brought the best recruiting class they've had. But overall talent, you still got to go back to Corliss Williams and some of the teams that no one put together. This one may be competitive with some of those Razorback teams from the early 90s, talking possibly Todd Day in the 90s triplets teams, possibly. Like, those were extremely talented teams loaded with NBA talent. This one might be very much the same. So we'll have to see what happens here. If Ron Holland comes to Arkansas, it's a huge get, and we're talking an amazing, amazing team that Moss has put together.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, go ahead.
I'll knock on some wood, but hopefully seeing a championship if those crystal balls are right.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you never know. They may be lying. So we got to see what's going to happen next. But we'll find out soon. We'll find out very, very soon. I've got a feeling. See what's going on with the future of Ron Holland, and if it is indeed going to be a historic team. Speaking of histories, after the break, we are going to be jumping into our little side project we've been working on, best of the best, or state by state, who's the best. That's the name of my dang project. State by state, who's the best. We're going to be taking a look this week at the state of Arkansas. Also next week, heads up, I'm going to be doing Mississippi because things are going on, and that's a short list. But this week, we are taking a look at the state of Arkansas and staying alphabetical here on week 2 in the top 5. By the way, some of these teams might surprise you on who it is. And we have a special interview with one of the coaches of one of this program. I'm going to give you a hint. It's on a team that's won a national championship. All right, we got that coming up after the break.
All right, so I'm a baseball guy, and my goal is to actually see a game in every Major League Baseball stadium. Now, I'm more than a third of the way there, and I never buy from the team's websites. SeatGeek is my first stop whenever I'm heading to a new city for a ball game. Now, obviously, they've got some other sports, as well as concert tickets, Broadway, comedy, I mean, you name it. And now, for VSN listeners, they're actually offering you $20 off your first ticket purchase. So just use the code VSN, that stands for Variety Sports Network. So that's VSN to save $20. So put that to use for some food or for some drinks at whatever event you are wanting to attend. Again, that code is VSN to save $20 on your first SeatGeek purchase.
As always, please go out and support our sponsors. And as we move into our best of the best, or state by state, who's the best series here, I want to remind everyone before someone gets upset. This week, I don't anticipate it as being as much as last week, but do not get butthurt. If you're in the top 5, you're in the top 5. It means you're legitimately a good program. You could not be in the top 5. I'm just saying, there's teams out there that are not in the top 5. And there may be a team next week when we do Mississippi, who is a D1 school, that won't be in the top 5. And it's a pretty big program in Mississippi. I'm just saying, I've started working the numbers there, and it's getting concerning that a certain school may not be in there. But I digress. We're talking about Arkansas this week. And we're going to start out with our number 5 school on our Arkansas list, and that is the Little Rock Trojans. Maddie, did you think UALR, I can't say UALR, it's Little Rock nowadays. Did you think Little Rock was going to be higher up the list?
Honestly, I kind of did. I thought they would beat out, more than likely, UCA, surprisingly enough, even though UCA's got the likes of Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, I mean,
and
don't spoil anything. Do what?
Oh, I thought you meant like higher up, like top
Yeah,
list.
they would end up higher up the list. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured they'd sit probably around like the 3 spot.
That would have been my guess too, because I would have thought, before we ran the numbers on the formula and stuff, my guess would have been the 3 spot. It actually came out pretty low though. And the reason is that they joined the NCAA faster than a lot of schools in Arkansas did. So they had a rougher stretch of time. They also had an independent streak as well. So they didn't get the benefit of some of the conference titles and things like that other teams had. But this school does have a pretty strong history when you look at it overall. They've had an NBA first round draft pick. Of course, my name is Derek Fisher, the 5-time NBA champion, all-time, and this used to be the all-time NBA playoff game played leader. That's now been broken by LeBron James in the year 2020. They've had 14 combined conference titles, have won 55% of their games since their jump to Division I, and they have a 60% home win at their new home stadium at the Stevens Center. Not doing bad. I used to go watch Euler all the time, Little Rock all the time growing up as a kid. I'm never going to be able to not call them UALR. I used to grow up and watch them those a lot as a kid, growing up in Little Rock, and that was an easy weekday game for me to go to. I remember them playing at Alltel Arena, and then they don't use anymore that I want them to bring back the cartoonish Trojan riding the horse into battle with a basketball shield. Like that was dope. That was a great logo.
Right.
Such a logo. All time one of the best logos ever, easily. Love that logo. But let's talk about the number 4 team. Maddie, you just mentioned one of the most famous alumni for this school, and that is the UCA Bears.
The Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen. Gotta love Scottie. Scottie made this school famous. Let's be real. 2-time gold medal winner, 7-time All-Star, and 6-time NBA champion. Scottie Pippen, bringing UCA to 141.34 as the grand total. Not a lot of history. Most of the stuff that came out with Arkansas teams was a lot of Final Fours in the NAIA back in the day for some of these schools that are emerging Division I or Division II schools. And that's because back in the day, Arkansas had its own conference in NAIA. So it was a very big school in the NAIA, or very big state in NAIA back in the day. A lot of these schools, a lot of prominent NAIA accolades. So it's an interesting list. It's a hard thing to say. But the biggest thing that gave a lot of help for UCA was they had 56 all-conference players in their history. It's a pretty prominent list. Going through there and looking at it, that's what gave them a ton of points. It wasn't just Scottie Pippen. It was the 2 Final Fours, and then holy cow, could this team not get all conference players every weekend or every day, or what's going on? They're multiplying out here. So it was a pretty interesting stretch for them. Number 3, Maddie, team that we're very, very familiar with. Me and you both attended UFAS at different points in our lives, but I love UFAS. I love UAFS. It's a great school, and it is the number 3 team, or the number 3 historic program that we have on our list. For people who live outside the state of Arkansas, and people who probably don't even live in the western part of the state, they're probably not too familiar with UFAS basketball.
Yep. It is definitely a smaller program that doesn't get the love that it seems to deserve. I had several friends that played at UA Fort Smith when I was there. A couple who are now, playing professionally, as Coach Gibson talks about.
Yeah. We're going to have an interview with him and Ramon. I want to go through these points real fast, just so everybody understands the history behind UAFS. The Lions have 5 NBA players and 2 first-round draft picks, which is something remarkable for a Division II school. They have been national champions twice in their history. They've had a 57% win percentage since their jump to Division II, and they've had 12 combined conference titles. They do have a coaching connection to Arkansas colleges around the area, all across the board. Several players have had some connection to UAFS, and several coaches as well. They have also sent 4 NBA draft picks. Understand this. They sent 4 NBA draft picks out of their school to border states when they were a junior college that went on to be NBA draft picks. So they had players playing at UFAS. They graduated from the junior college. They sent them off to St. Louis, Oklahoma State, and Arkansas, gave a ton of great talent to these programs and helped build them. You might look back in your history, you might find some UAFS players who have contributed significantly to your school's history. And then, of course, ever since they came to Division II, they've still had continued success. Also, the Stub is a really nice basketball arena for a Division II state team. I'm just saying.
It is. It is
It,
a nice gym.
it's kind of cool walking past a giant gold lion on your way to the Stub. It's a good basketball state. I'm for real. For a Division II school, that is a legit gym.
For sure.
Yeah.
I remember, growing up there, Coach Horton was a good family friend, so I would always go to his camps when I was younger and still could play basketball well. And like going into that gym, it was like one of those, not quite when I went to like the University of Arkansas
And Salt
flagship,
Bud. Yeah.
but I mean, it was a great gym to play in.
It is. And we've got somebody who's cutting down the nets for that school a couple of times as an interview. Bringing on us today is that we had an interview with the new head coach of UAFS, Coach Zane Gibson. And we welcome into the show Coach Zane Gibson, the new basketball coach at UAFS, home of the Lions. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, David. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Coach. It's I know you're returning to UFAS. This is your first year back at UAFS. You used to be an assistant there. Now you're returning the program after 5 seasons. Why did you choose to come back to UFAS?
Yeah, when I was here as an assistant coach, this was a very, very special place to me. We had a lot of success here. I was here under Coach Newman, and we got to number 4 in the country twice. Won back-to-back league titles, went to back-to-back NCAA tournaments. So it's a place, in my opinion, where you can have a lot of success. And the people around here are great. They're very warm and welcoming. They're excited. They're interested in the program. David, honestly, I could probably ramble on for a very long time as to why I decided to come back, because it's just that special to me, and we're excited to get going.
Oh, I totally understand. It's definitely a special place. I've got a little piece of UFAS history for myself when I went to school there for a little while. I was completely painted in blue and running to the basketball stadium for a pump-up video one year. And that's out there in existence. And then I went to class without getting the paint off of me. So I just sat in the back of one of my history classes, completely painted in blue. So yeah, there's a ton of interest. I totally get it, Coach.
Well, we might have you back and paint yourself blue again. I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
I think I'm getting a little over that, Coach.
Like it, but I think this could be a good thing for us right here.
Yeah, I mean, we can keep that a tradition. I can just be the random blue guy in the stands every Saturday for you if you want me to. All right, you've been a part of 4 championship winning teams as a player and a championship team as an assistant coach. How do you take a winning culture, the winning cultures you've been a part of, and put that into UAFS now?
Yeah, I think that basketball, like most businesses or companies, is not so different. And what I mean by that is there's a reason why, coaches on the women's side, coaches on the men's side have a lot of success. There's not hidden things. People aren't doing necessarily these extravagant, special things that no one understands. They just do them kind of better. They're more focused into their foundation, whatever their foundation blocks are, because obviously, Tony Bennett does it one way, and Coach Cal does it a different way, and so there's not one particular way you have to do this, but I think it's people that stay true to themselves, true to their core, and really do a good job of connecting with their young men and women in their programs, and I think that allows them to lead to some success. That's what when I played at Middle Tennessee for Kermit Davis. Our culture, I thought, helped us win a lot of championships. Of the 4 I was a part of as a player, I thought 2 times, looking back, that we were just the most talented team in the league. The other 2 that we won, I thought we were just the best team. We were all about each other, and our standards were high, and we maintained them even more so than Coach. And then when I got out here with Coach Newman, obviously the success we had here, it was a very similar recipe. Different play styles. Coach Davis and Coach Newman, completely different play styles, but the recipe for the culture and really standing by what you believe in, I think, is what I've taken the most in my coaching journey, which I took with me out to Western New Mexico.
Gotcha, 100%. What was it like playing for Kermit Davis back in the day?
Yeah, Coach Davis is hard now. Coach Davis is a hard coach to play for. Because he just demands so much of you, but very fair, very fair. I love Coach. Coach and I talk all the time. He talked to me and has helped me along my career the entire way. And he's a huge part of my life. Obviously, till this past year, I was a huge Ole Miss fan from a distance, just because not because I cared anything about Oxford or the university, but because I cared about Coach and all he meant to me as a player, and then obviously as a mentor during my coaching career. So, but it was hard. It was demanding. You knew every single day you had to come to work. There was not going to be, if you came in there and only gave it half-hearted effort, it wasn't going to go real well for us. So coach demanded a lot for us, but I think it's why we were successful. And I think that's kind of helped me in my start of my coaching career.
100%. So obviously I know that Coach Davis has dealt with this quite a bit at his time at Division One. I'm curious, in the age of NIL, transfer portal, and all those other things that modern basketball kind of consists around, what's that like at the D2 level?
Yeah, we've always kind of had the transfer portal a little bit more at the Division II level than Division One. And I played Division One. I got my start as a Division One graduate assistant. So that's all I kind of knew until Coach Newman, for whatever reason, decided to take a chance on me, 7 years ago or 8 years ago, whenever it was I came out here. And Division One guys were always able to transfer down to Division Two and play right away. So we always kind of had the portal, even though it was a little bit different shaping. And now everybody kind of has it. And so it's something I've been prepared for with the player movement. Now, what is a little bit different at our level is the NIL. Some schools I have heard in the rumor mill of our, coaching fraternity are starting to dabble into it. But not at the numbers that obviously, the SEC schools and the Big 12 schools are using. So I do think it will get into our game a little bit. But the portal has always kind of been something we've been used to. I had, 7 or 8 Division I transfers on my roster out of Western New Mexico. When I was here the first time, we had Darion Strong-Moore, who was an Oklahoma transfer. We had Ladarius Coleman and Marcus Wallace, who were SEMO transfers. We've always kind of dabbled into that at the Division II level, and now it's just kind of more widespread because now everybody does it. Now it's everywhere. So it's changed kind of who we can go after and who we target in recruiting. But the process is kind of the same for us.
You said that guys have always had it at a level. Can you kind of explain maybe has it changed at all, or is it just is it just slight rule changes now really in Division II with the new transfer portal era, or is it pretty much the same?
Yeah. So now, where we would get kind of the free transfer would be coming from a Division I down to a Division II school. Now we can take a Division II guy into another Division II school.
Okay,
so now it's kind of, it used to be we would go try to attract those Division I guys because our sell to them was, hey, look, you don't have to sit out with us. It used to be you transferred Division I, you had to take that year of sitting, and guys just don't want to sit. Oftentimes, especially earlier in my career, the reason why guys were transferring was because they just weren't playing a lot or enough. And why would you want to go from playing a little bit to playing none for a whole year and then come back the year after? So it was kind of our sell. Now, obviously those guys can transfer laterally at the Division I level, and we can now do that as well at the Division II level. So whereas we used to target a lot of maybe low major Division I guys, now we target maybe some all league Division II guys in other leagues, that are, they decide to leave. They're trying to get up to the Division I level. Maybe they're not getting the interest, and we maybe present a different opportunity for them. And so it's kind of changed the target zone a little bit for us. But as far as how we approach them and how we try to interact with them in the recruiting part, that's still just about building relationships.
Okay, Coach. So I definitely want to give you a chance to talk a little bit more specifically about your program there at UFAS. So I'm a high school basketball recruit, all 5'8" point guard of me right here. What's your best pitch for me to go to UFAS to play Division II ball there for you?
Yeah, what we try to sell guys on is playing at an extremely high level where all of your goals can be met. But the difference between us, because honestly, David, being transparently, we're recruiting versus the low major Division I schools. That's who we're recruiting. Eric Musselman and I are not getting in the same households. Okay, I love being some of the households he's going into, but we're not. So, we sell in our league in the Lone Star. Year in, year out, we've led the country in the most automatic bids into the NCAA tournament, or at-large bids, to the NCAA tournament. We had 6 2 years ago. We had 4 this past year. We typically will get 5 or 6 every year. And so you don't have to have one magical weekend in March for us to make the NCAA tournament. You just have to have consistent excellence throughout the year, and then you're rewarded. So, that's kind of one of the sales we use. Is it's a different deal. We're chasing national championships. Obviously, they've hung a couple banners in this arena by winning national championships in their past, as opposed to just trying to find a way to win 4 nights in March at your conference tournament. Because we won 4 titles out of middle. We only went to the NCAA tournament 2 years, because even though we were the best regular season team from November to March, we got bounced in our conference tournament twice. And now we went to the NIT and had some success there in both of those years. But the NIT is obviously overshadowed from the NCAA tournament. And so our sale is to try to win a national title and not just need those 3 special days in March.
That's totally fair. And honestly, yeah, I mean, for someone who's realistic about their talent level, 100%. But also, on the other hand, you also had a program that's historically produced NBA talent and professional basketball talent. Do you continue to expect that you'll see players transported across the world to play basketball in different leagues coming out of UFAS?
I do. Devontae Thomas, Darion Strongmore, Chris Crawford, Marcus Wallace are all guys that I coached here as an assistant, and they're all still playing. And, Devontae, not to get too deep into his checkbook, is making a lot of money right now playing the game. And so we will continue. And that was just in my time. There are other guys who were here before me that are still playing. And they came from the Division II era, not just like your Sonny Weems, who came from the junior college era, who obviously is still playing over in China. So, yes, I do. When I was out at Western, we had guys go play professional every year. When I was at UT Permian Basin as the associate head coach, we had guys go play professional that are still playing. And so, yes, I fully believe and expect we will still have guys consistently go and play professional basketball from here. Because another one of our sales to young men, speaking about the recruiting process, is, we truly believe that if you're top 3 or 4 player for us and you're playing 25 to 32 minutes a game and you're producing at a high level, that you are going to have a much better chance to gather a contract from a professional team than a guy that's maybe at a Southland school or a WAC school that's number 9 or 10 on their rotation. And so you're playing 10 minutes a game or 5 minutes a game. We believe that the opportunity that you can have here is going to garner you more interest. And it has, from my experience.
All right. I'm going to let Maddie ask a couple of questions, Coach, and then I'm going to come back and pick on you for a second, if that's all right.
That's fine. As long as you don't pick on me too much.
No, I've got one thing I'm going to show you at the end of this interview, but Maddie, it's all you for a bit.
All right, Coach. So when you played, was there anyone that you tried to model your game after? I know that's a big thing for a lot of players, is they pick a favorite and they, try and emulate all his moves. So who was your guy?
Yeah, Maddie, you're making me feel old right now, because I got to remember what I thought about when I was a player.
Coach, we're all the same age over here, so we're all around your age point.
Well, right now you just get so caught up into your day-to-day activities that you don't even remember what you did 2 weeks ago. I guess growing up, I think JJ Redick was a little bit older than us. I was a shooter. I knew what I was. The one thing I understood about myself, and maybe that's what's helped me as a coach, is I knew who I was. I didn't try to be somebody I wasn't. I'd love to be LeBron. I'd love to be LeBron. I'm not LeBron. Okay. and I'm nowhere near that. It was never my game, but I could catch the ball and shoot it. And I was smart, and I was tough defensively. So, JJ Redick was somebody that I tried to really emulate, working on his footwork, as far as how he would square his body up and shoot the ball. And obviously that's why I think he had such a long-lasting career in the NBA, because of just his work ethic and understanding kind of his role and how he could fit in. Speaking of pros, I played with 6 of them over at middle. Like 6 of my teammates played professional basketball. I was way down the line as far as understanding I was not going to be that. It just wasn't in my cards. But, a lot of those guys, even are the same age as us, are still playing. And it's because they were really, really good players. And I understood my role was to make shots when I got open, to move the ball to them and play hard defensively and execute our stuff and things like that. So he was probably one that pops out as a guy I really tried to emulate as a player.
Okay. So on the other side of that coin, when you switched over to the coaching side, was there any coaches that, you like their style of coaching, or just thought, wow, that mindset kind of leads you towards a championship, that you try and model yourself after now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you have to be authentic to yourself. That's what I've learned in coaching. I'd love to be able to do some things that I see and just maybe I don't know how to quite reach my guys or teach them how to do those things. So I've learned from a lot of really good coaches. I mean, I spent 7 years with Coach Davis, and I've spent 5 years with Coach Newman, and I go to coaching clinics and I do all that stuff. I think as a coach, you have to know you're not a finished product. We always try to strive and tell our guys to be better players, and they have to work on their game and give them ways to work. And so I'm always trying to learn. I love watching the Nuggets and what Mike Malone does with his 5-out offenses. And, we use a little bit of Princeton principles in some of the things we do to steal it from way back in the day. And so I'm a basketball junkie. I watch a lot of different things. That's, what I kind of revolve around outside of my wife and my little 9-month-old. That's all I really do. And so I try to take things that I like that we didn't run as a player with Coach Davis and that I didn't do as an assistant coach with Coach Newman, and be true to what I believe in, what works. And I think that's kind of how it's gone. Now, from a cultural standpoint, no, I'm still in all of their stuff I think that worked. But from a thematic standpoint, it's just, more of the stuff that I believe is better for how the game is evolving.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, always got to be on your toes. Coaches today aren't coaching the same way the coaches in the 80s did. So totally understand that. So I know you said you were kind of a catch and shoot expert. Do you have a favorite position to coach, or like the easiest or hardest positions?
What's funny about that is I was a catch and shoot guy as a player. I'm not going to say expert. That might be, but when I was young, I got shifted into really working with the bigs. Brandon Chappelle and I were assistant coaches up here. So Brandon is now an assistant at the University of Texas. He's on the staff with Rodney Terry. And Brandon played professionally in Germany. And Coach Newman, when I got here, thought that Brandon would really work well with the guards. And obviously he's awesome. Brandon and I are best friends to this day. And so, there's two positions groups. You work with the guards or you work with the bigs. And so I kind of just by default got the bigs and really studied and worked and watched YouTube videos and went to clinics and figured out kind of, what we need to do to develop our bigger guys. And it's actually where I feel more comfortable from a teaching perspective now, because I did it for 5 straight years as an assistant, is work with the bigger guys and really learn how to work on their footwork and body positioning and playing into contact and understanding the bumps you can use on moves to then create separation and then lift. So it really helped me become more of a well-rounded coach, because I was a guard and then I became more of a big coach. And now as the head coach, you handle both. And so, but no, I actually feel really comfortable working with guys in and around the post.
Awesome. Okay, so this is kind of my, I guess, fun question for you. If you could get hired on as an assistant to any coach now or in history, whose staff would you want to be a part of?
That is you're talking, you could go back to John Wooden. You could go, Coach K. I think that's a great question, and that's one I'm not prepared for, Maddie.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to stump you.
No, but honestly, this is just who I am, and I would work for Coach Davis. That's who I would go back to, because of our relationship. I know him, and I know that's crazy to say. You talk about Bob Knight or Billy Donovan or Coach Cal at Kentucky. There's obviously 1,000. Tom Izzo. It's a lot of great coaches in this world, but I appreciate what he did for me as a player and started my coaching career. And so, I guess I'm kind of loyal with that answer. That's my guy. And I think he's pretty brilliant. So I would, I would, that would be a dream deal thing, but he's probably retired. So that's really nothing that's in the cards.
No, I get you. I mean, you could invite him back to be an assistant coach on your staff.
I've thrown it out there on him coming up here and watching some practices. I actually think he's going to take me up on that. So we'll see.
Oh, okay, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah. So I said I was going to come back and embarrass you. I used to be a journalist, so yeah, research is kind of my thing. So I can go back in time and find some fun stuff. So you used to have a favorite spot on campus, and back in 2014, you gave an interview very similar to this one. Did that place, did it or did it not involve Popeye's chicken?
That's a great question.
I've got the receipt, so I'm curious what your answer is.
Truly, this goes back to my first answer is I can't remember what I did 3 weeks ago at this point. There's a chance I like Popeyes. So there's a chance that I was sitting in a restaurant or something at that point. I couldn't tell you. I also probably didn't have a say-so as to where the interview took place. Now I have a little bit more of a say-so. But no, there's a chance. I'm not going to deny it.
Okay. Coach, I don't mean to cut you off too fast, but I do want to show it to you. I don't know if you can see it on your phone, but I did dig this up. And here we go. I'm sharing it on the screen now. This was an interview you gave back to SAAC, and they asked you what your favorite place on campus was. This was your answer.
Oh man, I would say the Murphy Center or the gym. I love it. We have a great locker room. We have great facilities. If you want to talk about something that's athletic, it'd be the new student union that they just put up last year. It's got Popeyes, it's got everything. It's got a movie theater, it's got pool rooms, it's got ping pong, it's got a printing center that they're opening this year. It's huge, it's really nice.
I would play your favorite social media, but all you said was, "Oh, Twitter's my favorite social media." You just pretty much ended it there.
Well, a couple of things. How bad was my hair back in college? I mean, that is really bad stuff right there. I think it's evolved a little bit because they released a picture when I got hired. What I used to do with my hair when I was an assistant, which was spike it, and that's bad now too. So the haircut keeps evolving. I obviously said the gym to start with, the Murphy Center, and they're right. I mean, so you can tell as a 21, 22-year-old player at that point, I liked going to Popeyes after practice. So I can't there's no doubt that that's a truthful answer right there. That was not hidden. So that was something I remember we did that. I was a SAC representative down in Dallas one year for the school, and they asked me that. It's amazing how the internet will just keep coming back to you every once in a while.
Yeah, it's weird how that works, but you just know how to use a decent search. And to be fair, other than the probably a couple hundred people who watch this show on a weekly basis, that's probably about how many views that has had over the course of almost 9-10 years at this point, Coach. So I think you're good.
The answer itself, I don't have an issue with. If we could just black out the haircut, that would be. That. So if we can get to whoever owns that video and just tell them to crop out my hair, then we'll be a little bit better.
I think
I understand. I still have my student ID from UFAS that I had to take after moving into a dorm room in August, and I always say I look like Hagrid from Harry Potter because it's out here.
I'm in August. It was probably pretty warm. You probably got a little sweat in. Your hair got probably frizzy, so I can imagine. We all have those moments and we just wish they'd go away, but sometimes a guy like David will just bring them right back up for you.
Thanks a lot, David.
Me getting into journalism was the worst thing ever, but I got to cover the Kansas Jayhawks for a few years. So, all right, Coach, it was absolutely awesome. Anything else you want to tell people about UFAS, the program, the Lions, Numa, anything out there that you want let the world know about going to the Stub?
Oh, just that we're excited. I hope people are excited around town and the area of what we're about to do here. And we would love for any and everybody to be a part of the program. We want to reach out to as many elementary schools and clubs and people within the community and people such as yourself and try to voice our excitement for the season and for the program and where we think we're going.
Awesome, Coach. Where can people find you at? Other than basketball games on Saturdays.
Well, I guess my one hobby is golf. I will go play golf. I am very bad. Okay. Whereas Maddie said an excellent shooter, when I kind of disagree with that. If anybody said I was a good golfer, I got land somewhere I can sell you. Okay. I'm a very, very bad golfer, but honestly, David, I keep things pretty simple. It was the one thing I was taught getting into this business is, basketball is going to eat up a lot of your time. You have a wife, now you have a kid, you need to spend time with them. And so I try to keep it very simple into doing just, those things that really matter. But my one hobby would be I'll sneak out to a golf course every once in a while and really tear up a course. And I don't mean by the score, I mean by chunking into the ground and things like that.
I golf about the same way, but honestly, what I meant by that question was where can they find you on social media and things like that. But my golf game's the same.
Yeah. They can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. It's _ Zane Gibson on Twitter and Instagram, and then my Facebook is just my name. And social interaction is a great thing. We encourage it. I respond to just about anybody who direct messages me or emails me, which obviously the email's on the website. But we want to be in touch, so please feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. He is the head coach of Maddie and Mai's beloved University of Arkansas, Fort Smith, and our number 3 team on our list for best historic programs in the state of Arkansas. We want to thank Coach for coming out here today. This was an awesome and fun interview. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Well, I need to see you guys back in the stub now. You let everybody know you're UFAS alums, so come on back. Coach Gibson will have tickets for you. All right. Well,
sounds good, Coach. I'll pick you up on that.
All right, perfect. Well, you guys reach out anytime. Anytime you want to be in the gym, just let us know.
All right, sounds good, Coach. Catch you later.
That's good.
Yep. Have a great one.
Thanks, you too.
Again, want to thank Coach Gibson for coming on the show. It was really cool. It was great hanging out with him and talking today. One of the more fun interviews we've had on the show, I have to say.
Yeah, for sure. I think it probably helps that, it's crazy to think that there's a head coach of a solid basketball program that's around our age. Like, yeah, makes it feel a little underwhelming.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's a legit, and a coaching connection to SEC school. So, I mean, like with Kermit Davis, I hope he doesn't rewind this podcast and start going, I should listen to some of their past episodes for me in the shows right before, Davis
that was my entire train of thought while our interview was going on. Like, does he know how much David has trashed Kermit Davis this season?
I mean, I'm sure he's a great person, and a lot of times coaches, I don't criticize coaches on their person. I don't. I criticize when schools are having problems, and he was just not a good fit at Ole Miss. He just wasn't, unfortunately. Sure, he's a great dude. He's produced a coach who's, won some championships, and he's won some championships at different schools. So, there's nothing against Kermit Davis. There was just, Ole Miss was a rough situation. But, as soon as he said that, I was like, how did I not put 2 and 2 together that Kermit Davis coached him? That was one of my, how did I not put 2 and 2? Those are the exact years Kermit Davis was there. What am I doing?
You just feel like your journalistic edge kind of fall a little bit.
Yep, it did in that moment. I was like, okay, David, don't you say a word about what you said about Kermit Davis.
I almost called you out, but I decided to keep it between us and the rest of the people that listen to this podcast.
Well, he's probably listening right now. Coach Gibson's probably listening right now. He's like, that son of a gun. I told him he can come hang out and watch practice sometime. He ain't coming. I'm going to go back and I'm going to send these clips to Coach Davis. That's what I'm going to do.
Actually going to put your picture up in the Stubbs ticket office and say, do not let this man into any basketball.
Wanted posters all over the stub. And it's like, yeah. Oh my goodness. No, I was not of his person. I'm sure he's a great and fantastic basketball coach. Ole Miss.
For Ole Miss.
Ole Miss was the problem. I was more trashing Ole Miss than anything else anyway. You're just what it is. Funny situation. All right, let's talk about our number 2 school before I put my foot further into my mouth today. All right. The number 2 school actually came as a surprise to me, but they are the oldest basketball program in the state of Arkansas, and that is Arkansas Tech, the Wonder Boys. 2 Final Fours, 35 combined conference titles, 2 NBA players, and they had a return to success in 2008 in their 2009 season. They went through a pretty good slump there, and then, of course, they have a coaching connection in Division II basketball for the U.S. Division II basketball team when they had their Brazilian tour a couple of years ago. Really, really unique history for Arkansas Tech. I was in their stadium a couple of days ago celebrating my brother's graduation from Arkansas Tech, but it's a neat place. Tucker Coliseum's not a bad basketball stadium either. So it's an interesting school, and just something you don't expect, that there's a pretty good history at Russellville.
Yeah, for sure. I've got my brother-in-law's sister played down there. She absolutely loved it, loved the coaches, loved the people. And I think, just that reputation of, being a smaller school but having a lot to offer really helped them out in building this program.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's a unique campus. I know a lot of people who've gone there for various reasons, and they've got some unique departments and things. It's a good school, and it's got a good sports history behind it. Good, there's a tradition behind Arkansas Tech. I don't know if they might be moving up to FCS here pretty soon for football, is what rumor has it, which means they would be coming to Division I in basketball, which would be very surprising if they made that move. But you're talking about a lot more money incoming to that school at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, very, very interesting. All right, Maddie. Gosh, do you have any? I mean, I feel like we went through all the schools. Do you have any guess who the number one school is?
No, I don't know. I think, maybe Washita Baptist.
That would make sense. Washita Baptist, I bet, has a pretty good history. Dickie Nutt coached at Washita Baptist.
Interesting. Did
Yep.
not know that.
Houston's brother.
Okay.
Was Dickie, or he's got multiple brothers. It's one of the Nutt brothers. And he's now an assistant coach at Mizzou. I don't know why my head's having the. Yeah, he's assistant coach now at Mizzou under Dennis Gates, but he used to be the head coach at Washita Baptist. Unique history there. Yeah, that's our number one team. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, our number one team is my other alma mater, the beautiful, wonderful school up here in the Ozarks. The University of Arkansas is the number one team. Now, I know a lot of people who are outside of my personal fan base of Arkansas fans. Arkansas fans, this comes as no surprise. I did say last week on the show, there's going to be certain programs that are going to be absolutely dominant in their own state. Arkansas is one of those. I'm not trying to be a homer. When I calculated Arkansas's numbers, I actually ran them twice to make sure I didn't punch a number twice in there. But they came in with a total score of 579.88. To give you some perspective, last week the best score in Alabama was under 300. There's a crazy history at Arkansas. 64% all-time win percentage. I have our win percentage numbers capped at 60, so they maxed out everything pretty much on the all-time on the win and record category. 1994 national champions, 1995 runner-ups, 14 first-round NBA draft picks, 31 combined conference titles. And there's a lot more accolades that are just not in the general notes here. You got to talk about the number of NBA players. It's massive. You got to talk about just long lists that would surprise you. Some of their X factors that we included into their weighted category, since they did have a score of 40. The first African-American head coach of a major Southern university and the first African-American head coach in the Southwest Conference, of course, was Nolan Richardson. Big time in the College Basketball Hall of Fame. Major history there. Then, this is actually a fact that I found through my research. I didn't know this. The University of Arkansas swept every NCAA tournament team in trying to represent the United States in basketball in the 1936 Olympic tryouts for the Berlin Games. They beat every college team. Essentially, just went in there, decided they were going to beat all the college teams, only got beat by another group of a super team, basically. That was the only team that ended up beating Arkansas out for the chance to represent the United States in Berlin in 1936 for the Olympics. Crazy, crazy history there. I thought it was really interesting learning that one. Of course, there's more history out there about these schools. One of the things I wanted to mention today, also so I just don't sound like a homer, Maddie, I want you to guess some names that, do you know any of the, actually, I don't want you to guess these. That's too hard. There's some prominent names who have been head coaches at one of these schools, and that's Little Rock. Do you have a guess on who some of those players might be? I'm not talking about their current head coach. Their current head coach is also an NBA basketball player, played for the U of A, but some of their other head coaches they've had that maybe come to mind.
Absolutely not. Nope. I don't even want to take a guess.
Chris Beard.
Really?
Did you not know that? Chris Beard was the head coach of Little Rock. Okay. How about Sidney Moncrief?
Okay. That's a good one.
Yep. Sidney Moncrief was head coach at Little Rock. How about Wimp Sanderson, the legendary coach from Alabama? Head coach at Little Rock. Porter Moser, head coach at Oklahoma. a lot of schools may not realize it, but there's a lot of coaches out there who started their career or have had some connection. And a lot of them are assistants on certain staffs who come from Euler. It's a coaching factory. Yeah, that's probably one of the craziest facts I learned from Little Rock is that they're just grind out good basketball coaches, winners. It's amazing. It's amazing when I was looking at it, just like their history of coaches, and I saw all those names, and I was like, Little Rock, Little Rock, Little Rock, Little Rock, Little Rock. Very unique list of very talented coaches who have come in, coached Little Rock, and then went on to much better and bigger programs, and have continued to be successful.
Wow, that's amazing. Definitely something I didn't know. I guess I'll need to look a little bit into my state basketball history.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. I know I'm the nerd and I'm the one who tries to write all this stuff down, but eventually I'm going to make this list, more and more interesting, as time goes on. Again, next week we're doing Mississippi. So shorter list there. I'm in the middle of finals right now. I was glad I got Arkansas done, but there was no way I was doing Florida next.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. There was no way I was getting through Florida in a week in the middle of finals week. I'm very just lucky to be recording a podcast today. So in complete honesty. But that being said, we will be back next week with another show.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Are you okay? Like, you just kind of like going to sleep. Is there a delay on this call today?
No, I just can't think.
It's been one of those days.
One of those days.
Well,
I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? I need another day of the weekend. I don't need it.
I need another day of the weekend. we can just let's just make it happen. 4-day work weeks. I'm telling you, the world would be a better place if we all just work Monday through Thursday. Yep. Tell me.
So I said I'm, ready for my vacation at the end of the month. I said put an IV of tequila in my veins. I'm ready for it.
Margaritas for everyone. I get it. I absolutely get it. All right. Well, please go check out all our other VSN shows. Please like and subscribe the podcast at any time. We always love having you guys around. Please go out and support our sponsors. Please go out and love basketball on every single level. And also please go out and love one another and be good people in the world, because obviously there's some people that we talked about today who have kind of forgotten some of these details to be good people. Don't say bad things. Just don't do it.
Don't be a jerk. Like, that's it. That's the bottom line. Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. It's the reason I don't listen to the Jim Rome show anymore. He's a jerk. But even he doesn't say bad things. Like that. Well, I take that back. He's got plenty of controversies. So, take that back. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
I try the runaround, hopeless with your laces tied. Find another route. How long till I get it right? Oh damn it, I'm tired. This running takes a toll on your mind. Oh damn it, I tried. Too late, now here comes the fight. Slowly strangle my brain as you